when you pack a suitcase and you're going on a trip, you're kind of packing a piece of space from where you live. And when you reach the destination, that the space inside the suitcase is kind of still the same space that was there when you started the trip. So the idea of that inside this suitcase we have sounds that are evocative of the city of Perth and its surrounds, and in a way it's like the space inside there is now also checking back to see what's actually happening at home. It's like you've transported that space somewhere else. And although the suitcase doesn't open so you see the innards actually when it's exhibited, there's this sense that the interior of that case is still this other place. You've just moved a bit of space somewhere.
We talked a lot about the difference between a new suitcase and a suitcase that had a history to it, that had a sense of another time, and that became important in the piece. So that it became about removing people from here's a modern piece of technology that they normally wouldn't think about, but having them engage with an object for it being an object in its own right. The access to the buttons for pressing the sound were through these beautiful little wooden portholes. And again, that became nice, but that reminder of, instead of it being an electronic button or something that said technology, it started speaking more about ocean liners and again carrying on this theme of migration and travel and difference in place.
In terms of the hardware and software construction for the suitcase, we went through a number of iterations. Initially we started using resonance speakers, so that required the software to have independent multiple channels running from the computer. We tried and tested out that system, and it wasn't really optimal in terms of the result that we got from it. Also, we had some issues with the reliability of the speakers. In terms of the tactile effect, it was quite strong, quite pronounced, but the aural effect was actually fairly low resolution, which was a trade-off between the physicality and the vibration being kind of more overt. The second iteration of the system basically utilized a normal 2.1 stereo speaker setup. With the subwoofer in place, we were kind of able to replicate a bit more of the tactile experience, but the fidelity obviously of the speakers was much better than the initial resonance speakers that we used. That second system basically uses a fidget board, which we've wired up a series of 6 physical contact switches, and when a user presses upon the porthole, it triggers the contact switch that lies below it. It would pass the message through the fidget back to our Mac Mini. Now the Mac Mini had a custom software that we built in Max 5, and basically what the software was doing was pulling down the live data feed from our Perth sensor. There was carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, temperature, humidity, ambient light and air quality. And basically each of these parameters had a corresponding sound or series of sound samples that were then manipulated by the numbers coming in. So for the carbon monoxide level, there was a mechanical rhythm loop that was kind of evocative of factory construction, heavy industry, which is one of the things that buoys up the economy of Perth, and a lot of people rely on mining, on heavy industry for their livelihoods. And basically the higher the data rate that came in, the faster the tempo of the composition would be. And the air quality parameter was linked to this tempo parameter. And so the sound of the person breathing would trigger at faster intervals. So for example, at a lower level it would trigger once every bar. And then at higher levels it would trigger once every quarter beat, once every eighth beat, and so on and so forth. The signal flow for the work is quite interesting. Basically, we have a sensor box located almost across the street from quite a busy road. So it's able to pick up, if you look at the graph of data plotted, you can actually see a direct correlation between peak traffic time, people going to work and coming back from work, and an increase in the carbon monoxide reading, and also correspondingly the ambient noise reading as well. And so this sensor data is transferred over the magic of the interweb to Patch Bay, which then plots the data, it archives the levels and things like that. And the suitcase in real time goes to Patch Bay, pulls down these numbers and generates the sonification. So although the sensor is located specifically in Perth, the suitcase could be anywhere in the world. As long as we have an internet connection, a live internet connection, we can pull down and sonify in real time the weather in Perth.